Welcome to the deep dive. Building a successful business, it often feels like you're navigating this complex maze, and really a strong brand is kind of your compass.
Uh-huh.
Today, we're basically going to hand you a detailed map. It's inspired by Michael Johnson's insights on branding, but we've expanded it into 7 key areas that we think are absolutely crucial for entrepreneurial success.
Yeah,
This isn't just theory, right? It's like your personalized guide to building a brand that genuinely connects and, well, thrives.
exactly. And think of it as us having already done some of the, heavy lifting for you, sifting through all the noise to pinpoint what truly matters in laying that unbreakable brand foundation.
Right. And over this deep dive, we'll be navigating these 7 vital stages together. First up, we're plunging into deep dive discovery, basically, unearthing your foundation.
Okay.
Then it's all about strategic storytelling, crafting your brand narrative. Third, we'll explore the visionary bridge, aligning that narrative and design.
Crucial step.
Fourth, we'll celebrate visual victory, designing your brand identity. Fifth is action ignition, implementing your brand strategy.
Putting it all to work.
Sixth, we'll tackle dynamic evolution, engaging and revitalizing your brand. And finally, seventh, perpetual Polish suspension, the ongoing art of brand refinement.
Yeah.
So our mission today, it's simple, to equip you with actionable understanding so you can confidently build a brand that not only stands out, but, lasts. Ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's begin where every strong structure must, with a really solid understanding of the ground beneath our feet.
All right, let's dive into section 1, deep dive discovery, unearthing your foundation. This initial phase, it's all about investigation, the critical groundwork you lay before you even think about logos or taglines. Now, some might be tempted to just jump straight into creating, but why is this deep dive discovery so indispensable?
Well, the power of this initial investigation is often really underestimated, and that's a genuine missed opportunity. It offers you 3 significant advantages. First, by thoroughly understanding consumer needs and identifying those underserved areas, the market gaps, you can actually pinpoint a viable market for your offering.
Makes sense.
Second, when you rigorously analyze what your competitors are doing, you unlock the potential to develop a truly differentiated product or service. And third, the rich insights you gather become the bedrock for a brand story that genuinely resonates with the audience you want to reach.
It's almost like a detective novel, right? You got to gather all the clues before you can solve the case, or in our case, build a winning brand.
Exactly.
So what happens if entrepreneurs skip this detective work?
Yeah.
What are the dangers of neglecting this initial deep dive?
Well, if you bypass this foundational stage, you're essentially flying blind, and that can lead to some pretty painful landings.
Ouch.
Yeah. One major consequence is launching a product or service that simply nobody wants, which is just a rapid drain on resources. You also risk creating a Me Too offering, kind of blending into a crowded marketplace and struggling to gain any visibility at all. But perhaps the most insidious consequence is building your entire brand narrative on assumptions rather than actual evidence, leading to a disconnect with your target audience and a brand story that just feels hollow.
Those are some stark warnings. Now, can you think of some U.S. companies that really exemplify this commitment to investigation? How do they approach this stage?
Sure. Consider Procter & Gamble. Before they even think about a new detergent or toothpaste, they invest heavily in extensive market research. They're not just asking surface-level questions, they're diving deep into consumer behaviors, preferences, unmet needs.
It's the deep stuff.
Exactly. Then look at a company like Apple. They don't just release new gadgets in a vacuum. They meticulously study their competitors, not to copy, but to identify opportunities for genuine innovation and differentiation. And in the tech world, a giant like Google is constantly monitoring industry trends, emerging tech, shifts in user behavior, and that directly informs their long-term strategic bets.
So they're really doing their homework.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the flip side. What are some common pitfalls or mistakes you see from competitors who maybe haven't done this initial digging?
Oh, we often see startups launching with a brilliant idea, in their own minds, but without any real market validation.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
It does. They haven't confirmed that there's actually a demand for what they're offering, and ultimately their products just fail to gain traction. You also see a lot of businesses that turn out Me Too products,
Yeah.
lacking any unique selling proposition because they haven't bothered to thoroughly analyze the competitive landscape.
Right, just blending in.
And sadly, many companies are completely blindsided by significant market shifts simply because they weren't paying attention to evolving industry trends and consumer preferences, caught flat-footed.
So for someone listening who's maybe just starting out or, I don't know, feeling a bit lost with their current brand, what's the key takeaway here? How can they practically apply this principle of deep dive discovery?
The fundamental shift needs to be towards a mindset of continuous learning and questioning. Before you invest heavily in development or marketing, take a step back and ask some critical questions.
Like what?
Like, what specific problem are we truly solving for our customers? Who exactly is our ideal customer, down to their specific needs and pain points? And what are our competitors doing both well and poorly? Utilize available tools like surveys, focus groups, thorough competitive analysis. Remember, a fantastic idea is only the starting point. Understanding the terrain you're operating in is what sets you up for sustainable success.
Absolutely. Lay that solid foundation first. Okay, let's move on to section 2, strategic storytelling, crafting your brand narrative. So once you've done your digging, you need to articulate who you are and what you stand for. Why is having a compelling brand narrative so vital in today's world?
Well, in a crowded marketplace, your story is what helps you cut through the noise and forge a real connection. A strong brand narrative delivers 3 powerful benefits.
Okay, what are they?
First, it creates an emotional resonance with your audience, fostering loyalty that goes beyond mere transactions and makes your brand truly memorable.
That emotional hook.
Exactly. Second, it allows you to differentiate yourself on more than just product features or price. It conveys your core values, your mission, your unique reason for being. And third, a well-crafted narrative ensures that your messaging remains consistent and coherent across every single touch point a customer has with your brand. Every single one.
And what's the downside? What happens when a brand story is weak, unclear, or just inconsistent?
Without a compelling and consistent narrative, you risk leaving potential customers confused about your brand's identity and what you truly stand for. You'll also struggle to cultivate genuine brand loyalty. Your relationships will likely remain superficial and transactional.
It's just about the sale.
Pretty much. And when your messaging is all over the place, it just dilutes your overall brand impact, making it much harder to create a lasting impression and build recognition.
So which companies in the U.S., in your opinion, are masters of strategic storytelling? Who really gets this right?
Think about Patagonia. Their unwavering commitment to environmentalism isn't just some marketing angle. It's deeply woven into their brand narrative and influences every aspect of their business. It's authentic.
Totally.
Then you have a company like Amazon. While they offer a vast array of products, their narrative of convenience and customer centricity is powerfully reinforced through customer reviews and stories.
Good point. The reviews.
And consider Nike's Just Do It. It's more than just a catchy slogan, isn't it? It encapsulates a powerful story of personal empowerment and athletic achievement that resonates deeply with their target audience on an emotional level.
Those are brands with stories that really stick. Now, on the flip side, where do companies often stumble or maybe miss the mark when it comes to their brand storytelling?
Yeah, a common misstep is focusing almost exclusively on the features and benefits of their products, overlooking the opportunity to connect with their audience on an emotional level through a compelling story.
Less the facts.
Right. You also see companies with inconsistent messaging across their various marketing channels. Their website says one thing, their social media says another. It's confusing.
Yeah.
And a significant number of businesses fail to clearly articulate their why, their underlying purpose and values that drive them beyond just, the pursuit of profit.
So for the entrepreneurs listening, how can they tap into this power of strategic storytelling for their own ventures? What are the practical steps?
It starts with really digging deep and defining your core values, what principles guide your business, what's your mission, what are you actually setting out to achieve in the world, and what's your overarching vision for the future?
The big picture.
Exactly. Craft an authentic narrative that genuinely weaves these elements together in a way that resonates with you first, because that authenticity will shine through. Then, and this is crucial, ensure that this story is consistently communicated across every single interaction your brand has with the world. A well-told story doesn't just attract customers, it builds a community.
Absolutely. Your story is your backbone. All right, we've navigated the foundation and the narrative. Now we're at section 3, the visionary bridge lining narrative and design. This is where the more abstract story starts to take on a tangible form, right? Why is it so critical to effectively bridge that gap between your brand story and your visual design?
This is where your internal narrative becomes an external reality.
Right.
Effectively bridging this gap provides 3 key advantages.
Okay.
First, it ensures that all your visual elements, your logo, your color palette, your imagery, directly and consistently reinforce the story you're trying to tell.
Everything lines up.
Precisely. Second, it builds a cohesive and instantly recognizable brand identity, which is fundamental for memorability and trust. And third, when narrative and design are aligned, it actually unleashes more creative and innovative design solutions that remain true to your core message. It doesn't stifle creativity, it focuses it.
Interesting. And what are the consequences if that bridge collapses? What happens when the visuals and the story feel disconnected?
Oh, when there's a disconnect, you risk confusing your audience with visuals that don't align with your messaging, creating a jarring and ultimately unconvincing brand experience.
It feels off.
It does. It can also severely undermine the credibility of your brand story. If your visuals say one thing and your words another, it feels inauthentic, maybe even deceptive, and you'll inevitably miss out on powerful opportunities to use visual communication to truly embody and amplify the essence of your brand.
So can you point to some U.S. companies that really nail this alignment? Brands where the story and the visuals feel like they're singing the same tune?
Coca-Cola is a prime example. Their brand guidelines are incredibly robust in showing that every visual element, from the iconic script to that specific red color, consistently reinforces their narrative of happiness and connection.
Yeah, you know it's Coke.
Instantly. Airbnb has also done a remarkable job of fostering close collaboration between their marketing and design teams, so their visuals perfectly reflect their mission of creating a sense of belonging anywhere.
It's a good one.
And behind the scenes, you'll find that many successful design agencies working with U.S. companies rely heavily on things like mood boards and detailed visual briefs to ensure everyone involved has a shared understanding of the brand narrative and how it should be translated visually.
And what are some common mistakes competitors make when trying to build this visionary bridge? Where does the connection often break down?
We often see visually appealing designs that simply don't communicate the underlying brand message. They might look nice, but they lack meaning in the context of the brand's story.
Style over substance.
Kinda, yeah. There's also the issue of inconsistent use of visual elements across different platforms, which dilutes brand recognition and can appear unprofessional. And a common pitfall is allowing current design trends to dictate visual choices, rather than grounding them in the fundamental brand story, which can lead to a brand that feels generic or, quickly becomes dated.
So for our listeners who are thinking about their own brands, how can they effectively build this visionary bridge and ensure their story and visuals are in harmony?
First and foremost, recognize that your brand's visuals are not just decorative. They are a fundamental part of how you tell your story.
They're part of the language.
Exactly. Foster a close and ongoing dialogue between the people who are crafting your brand narrative and those who are designing your visual identity. Develop clear and comprehensive brand guidelines that articulate how your story should be visually represented, and then stick to those guidelines consistently. Remember, your visuals should be a powerful and immediate representation of your brand's core essence.
That makes perfect sense. Now we move to section 4. Visual victory, designing your brand identity. This is where you take those aligned concepts and turn them into tangible visual assets. What are the core benefits of having a strong and well-executed brand design?
Strong brand design provides 3 significant advantages. Firstly, it creates a memorable and instantly recognizable brand identity, which is absolutely crucial for standing out in today's crowded marketplace. You want people to remember you.
Definitely.
Secondly, high-quality professional design communicates credibility and trustworthiness, building confidence with potential customers. It just looks like you know what you're doing.
Right. It signals quality.
And thirdly, in our increasingly digital world, well-designed websites, social media graphics, and other digital assets significantly enhance the user experience, leading to greater engagement and, ultimately, conversions.
Conversely, what are the potential downsides and negative consequences of having, poor or amateurish brand design?
Oh, poor design can unfortunately make your entire business appear unprofessional and untrustworthy, which can deter potential customers before they even engage with your products or services.
That first impression matters.
Hugely. It can also lead to your brand being easily forgotten by consumers because your visuals are just generic, uninspired, or simply don't make an impact. And in the digital realm, a poorly designed website or inconsistent social media presence can lead to high bounce rates and low interaction, ultimately hindering your online growth and success. People just click away.
So which companies in the U.S. really demonstrate a commitment to and excellence in brand design? Who are the ones we can look to as examples?
Well, you see companies across various industries understanding the immense value of expert design and making significant investments in professional graphic design services. They're not trying to DIY it usually.
Right, they hire pros.
They do. They prioritize ensuring brand consistency across every single visual touch point, from their physical packaging to their online presence. And many successful brands also recognize the need to regularly update their visual identity to maintain a modern and relevant feel while still staying true to their core brand elements. It's a balancing act.
And where do competitors often stumble or fall short when it comes to their visual design efforts?
A very common mistake is using amateur or outdated designs, which unfortunately projects a lack of seriousness, quality, and attention to detail.
Well, it's cheap.
Exactly. Many companies also suffer from inconsistent visual branding across their different platforms. Their logo might look different on their website than on their business cards, for example, creating a disjointed and unprofessional impression.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And surprisingly, some businesses still hesitate to invest adequately in professional design, viewing it as an optional expense rather than a crucial element of their overall brand strategy, significantly underestimating its impact.
So for an entrepreneur who's aiming for their own visual victory, what's the key piece of advice you'd offer?
Don't underestimate the profound and often subconscious power of visual design. Invest wisely in professional designers who not only have a strong aesthetic sensibility, but also deeply understand your brand narrative and can translate that into compelling and effective visuals.
Find the right fit.
Definitely. Ensure that you establish clear brand guidelines and maintain unwavering consistency across all your visual touchpoints. Remember, your visual identity often forms that critical first impression and can significantly influence how your brand is perceived.
Absolutely, you've got to look the part. All right, we're now at section 5, action ignition, implementing your brand strategy. You've got a great story, fantastic visuals, but how do you actually get it out into the world? What are the key benefits of effective brand implementation?
Effective brand implementation is where your carefully crafted brand strategy moves from theory to practice, and it yields 3 crucial benefits. First, it ensures that you are reaching your target audience consistently across all the channels where they spend their time and attention, keeping your brand top of mind.
Be where they are.
Exactly. Second, it's fundamental for building overall brand awareness and recognition in the marketplace. And third, when you implement your brand strategy thoughtfully and consistently, you foster meaningful engagement and interaction with your customers, building stronger relationships.
And what happens when that implementation falters? What are the consequences of a poorly executed brand strategy?
If you don't have a clear and consistent implementation plan, you risk failing to reach significant segments of your potential customer base due to inconsistent or infrequent communication.
Missing people.
Totally. Your brand recall will likely be weak because you lack a consistent presence in the places your audience frequents. And you'll inevitably miss out on valuable opportunities for customer engagement, feedback, and the chance to build a thriving community around your brand.
So can you think of some U.S. companies that are really effective at putting their brand strategy into action across various channels?
Sure. Many companies develop detailed content calendars for their social media and email marketing efforts to ensure a steady and consistent flow of brand-aligned communication.
Planning ahead.
Right. You also see successful brands actively engaging with their online communities, responding promptly to comments and messages, and participating in relevant conversations. They're part of the community.
Not just broadcasting.
Exactly. And almost universally, effective businesses ensure their website content is always up to date, reflects their latest branding, and provides a consistent brand experience.
And where do competitors often drop the ball when it comes to implementing their brand strategy? What are some common pitfalls?
A frequent issue is inconsistent posting on social media platforms or sporadic email communication, which leads to a disengaged and potentially forgotten audience. They just kind of fade away.
Yep. Out of sight, out of mind.
Pretty much. Many companies also make the mistake of ignoring online feedback and failing to actively interact with their customers, missing crucial opportunities to build loyalty and address concerns. And having outdated or irrelevant content on their website can create a negative impression and even drive potential customers away. It looks neglected.
So for our listeners who want to ignite action and effectively implement their own brand strategy, what's the essential advice?
Develop a clear and actionable plan that specifically outlines how you will bring your brand strategy to life across all the relevant channels where your target audience is present. Be consistent in your messaging, your visual presentation, and your overall brand experience.
Consistency again.
Always. And most importantly, remember that brand implementation is not a passive activity. Actively engage with your audience, listen to their feedback, and be responsive. Even the most brilliant brand strategy will fall flat if it's not consistently and effectively put into action.
Absolutely. You've got to show up and keep showing up.
Yeah.
Now we move to section 6. Dynamic evolution, engaging and revitalizing your brand. Brands aren't static entities, right? They need to adapt and evolve. Why is this ongoing process of engagement and revitalization so crucial for long-term success?
Right. The business landscape is constantly shifting. Markets change, customer preferences evolve, new technologies emerge. You can't stand still.
No kidding.
Brand engagement and revitalization offer 3 fundamental benefits. They allow you to maintain relevance in this dynamic environment, they keep your brand fresh and exciting for your existing customer base, and they attract new customers with innovative and forward-thinking approaches.
And what are the potential downsides or risks of allowing your brand to become stagnant and unchanging?
Well, a brand that fails to evolve risks becoming outdated and irrelevant to its target audience, eventually just fading into the background.
Becoming a dinosaur.
Basically, yeah. You'll likely see a gradual decline in customer interest and loyalty as they gravitate towards brands that feel more current and in tune with their needs. And ultimately, a stagnant brand severely limits its potential for growth, expansion into new markets, and the ability to capitalize on emerging opportunities.
Can you share some examples of U.S. companies that have successfully embraced brand evolution, keeping themselves fresh and engaging?
Oh, definitely. You see many established companies regularly refreshing their marketing campaigns and creative assets to ensure their messaging and visuals remain current and impactful.
Keeping it modern.
Yes. Successful brands often introduce new products or services that align with evolving customer needs and market trends, demonstrating their adaptability and innovation. And perhaps most importantly, companies that actively solicit and genuinely use customer feedback are much better positioned to evolve their brand in ways that truly resonate with their audience. They listen.
And where do competitors often stumble when it comes to this dynamic evolution? What prevents them from staying fresh?
A common mistake is clinging too tightly to outdated marketing tactics and messaging, which can make them appear out of touch with current trends and consumer expectations, doing what always worked even when it doesn't anymore.
Right.
Some businesses also exhibit a resistance to change and innovation, missing opportunities to connect with new customer segments or leverage emerging technologies. And unfortunately, many companies fail to actively listen to and act upon customer feedback, missing crucial signals about how their brand needs to adapt. They think they know best.
So for entrepreneurs who want to ensure their brand remains dynamic and continues to evolve with the times, what's the key advice?
Cultivate a mindset of continuous improvement and adaptation. Regularly review your brand's performance in the marketplace and actively seek out opportunities to refresh and revitalize its various elements. Stay closely attuned to emerging market trends, technological advancements, and crucially, pay close attention to what your customers are saying.
Is it up?
Definitely. A successful and enduring brand is a living entity that must continually evolve to remain relevant and thrive.
Absolutely. It's about staying agile and responsive. Finally, we've reached section 7, perpetual polish. The ongoing art of brand refinement. This emphasizes that building a strong brand isn't a one-time project, right? It's a continuous process.
Why is this perpetual refinement so critical for sustained success?
Exactly. It's never really done. Perpetual brand refinement offers 3 significant and long-term benefits. First, it ensures that your brand remains consistently aligned with your overarching business goals and the ever-changing realities of the market, keeping the ship on course.
Right.
Second, it allows you to proactively identify and address any potential brand weaknesses, inconsistencies, or areas for improvement before they become major issues. Nip problems in the bud.
Proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. And finally, it helps you maximize the return on investment in all your branding efforts over the long haul by ensuring they remain effective and efficient, getting the most bang for your buck. And what are the potential negative consequences of neglecting this ongoing brand refinement? What happens if you just, set it and forget it?
Well, without regular attention and refinement, your brand can gradually drift away from its core values and its intended market positioning, losing its clarity and focus.
Losing its way.
Kind of. You also risk the erosion of your brand equity, that valuable reservoir of positive associations you've worked so hard to build over time. It just chips away. And ultimately, your marketing efforts will become less effective and efficient if the underlying brand is not regularly reviewed, refreshed, and optimized for the current landscape. Wasted effort, basically.
Can you give us some examples of U.S. companies that really prioritize this perpetual polish of their brand, always striving for that ongoing refinement?
Sure. Many consistently successful companies regularly conduct audits of their brand messaging and visual identity to ensure they remain consistent, relevant, and impactful. It's like a regular checkup. They actively monitor brand perception through social listening, customer surveys, and other feedback mechanisms to identify areas for improvement and potential risks. They keep their ear to the ground. And they diligently track key brand metrics, things like brand awareness, customer sentiment, brand recall, and make data-driven adjustments to their strategies as needed. They use the data.
And what are some common mistakes competitors make in this final crucial stage? Where do they often drop the ball when it comes to perpetual polish?
A frequent and costly mistake is assuming that their initial branding efforts will remain effective indefinitely without any further attention or upkeep. The set it and forget it trap.
Yeah.
Many companies also fail to establish clear metrics or to track the performance of their branding initiatives, missing valuable opportunities to learn and optimize. They're flying blind again, really.
Right.
And unfortunately, some businesses only react to brand issues when they escalate into major problems, rather than proactively addressing potential weaknesses and opportunities through continuous monitoring and refinement. Firefighting instead of fire prevention.
So, for our listeners who want to incorporate this principle of perpetual polish into their own businesses, what's the key takeaway?
Make brand review and refinement a regular and integral part of your ongoing business operations, not just a one-off task you do when things go wrong. Establish key performance indicators, KPIs that will help you track your brand's health and effectiveness, and monitor them diligently.
Measure what matters.
Exactly. Be open to receiving and acting upon all forms of feedback, both positive and negative, and cultivate a mindset of continuous learning and improvement, always being willing to make necessary adjustments to keep your brand sharp, relevant, and aligned with your goals. Long-term brand success is an ongoing journey that requires consistent attention, care, and, well, a commitment to perpetual polish.
So as we conclude this deep dive into the 7 essential keys to building a powerful entrepreneurial brand, it's really clear that it's not a quick fix, is it? It's a continuous journey.
Definitely not a quick fix.
It demands consistent effort, a willingness to adapt, and a deep understanding of these fundamental principles we've unpacked today.
Precisely. And remember, while these are universal principles, their application will be totally unique to your specific business and your target audience.
That's right. So for you, the listener, maybe take a moment to reflect on which of these 7 keys resonates most powerfully with the current state and, aspirations of your business. Where do you see the most immediate opportunities for growth or improvement?
Yeah. What's the low-hanging fruit?
Exactly. And what's maybe one concrete action you can take today or this week to begin implementing these principles and strengthen your brand?
That's the crucial next step, taking these insights and actually putting them into practice, making it real.
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive. We trust that these insights have equipped you with a clearer and more actionable roadmap for building a resilient and successful brand.
Hope it was helpful.
Until our next exploration. Welcome to the deep dive. Building a successful business, it often feels like you're navigating this complex maze, and really a strong brand is kind of your compass. Today, we're basically going to hand you a detailed map. It's inspired by Michael Johnson's insights on branding, but we've expanded it into 7 key areas that we think are absolutely crucial for entrepreneurial success.
Yeah.
This isn't just theory, right? It's like your personalized guide to building a brand that genuinely connects and, well, thrives.
Exactly. And think of it as us having already done some of the, heavy lifting for you, sifting through all the noise to pinpoint what truly matters in laying that that unbreakable brand foundation.
Right. And over this deep dive, we'll be navigating these 7 vital stages together. First up, we're plunging into deep dive discovery, basically, unearthing your foundation.
Okay.
Then it's all about strategic storytelling, crafting your brand narrative. Third, we'll explore the visionary bridge, aligning that narrative and design.
Crucial step.
Fourth, we'll celebrate visual victory, designing your brand identity. Fifth is action ignition, implementing your brand strategy.
Putting it all at work.
Sixth, we'll tackle dynamic evolution, engaging and revitalizing your brand. And finally, seventh, perpetual Polish suspension, the ongoing art of brand refinement.
Yeah.
So our mission today, it's simple, to equip you with actionable understanding so you can confidently build a brand that not only stands out, but, lasts. Ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's begin where every strong structure must, with a really solid understanding of the ground beneath our feet.
All right, let's dive into section 1, deep dive discovery, unearthing your foundation. This initial phase, it's all about investigation, the critical groundwork you lay before you even think about logos or taglines. Now, some might be tempted to just jump straight into creating, but why is this deep dive discovery so indispensable?
Well, the power of this initial investigation is often really underestimated, and that's a genuine missed opportunity. It offers you 3 significant advantages. First, by thoroughly understanding consumer needs and identifying those underserved areas, the market gaps, you can actually pinpoint a viable market for your offering.
Makes sense.
Second, when you rigorously analyze what your competitors are doing, you unlock the potential to develop a truly differentiated product or service.